Hi, my name is Shriya Murlidhar, and I am a sophomore from Bentonville, Arkansas. So, this topic of mine sparked when a close relative of mine was diagnosed with the disease cancer. This fueled me to take up a topic about oncolytic diseases, specifically neuro-oncolytic diseases. So, without further ado, I present to you advancements in glioblastoma treatment and strategies to overcome therapeutic resistance. I worked alongside Tiffany Chen, who was my mentor, and I'm so thankful for her as she guided me through writing my research paper. Oh, so before I begin, I'll give a quick overview of what this presentation will cover. I'll begin by explaining what is a glioblastoma, and then move on to the traditional therapies, non-traditional therapies, and finally, the best solution. So, what is glioblastoma? Now, I'm aware that this may be a new topic for most of y'all, so I will keep this as simplified as possible. So, a glioblastoma is a cancerous tumor that arises from glial cells. The glial cells support and protect the neurons in the nervous system. When there is an abnormal proliferation of these glial cells, this causes the glial cells to build up and form a glioma. And this glioma is the cancerous tumor. And when this cancerous tumor starts to become aggressive and starts disrupting normal cell growth and normal bodily functions, that's when it turns into a glioblastoma. So why is this so important? Well, in the statistics, it demonstrates that survival rate of a glioblastoma patient is at 5%, which is less than people diagnosed with brain cancer. It is also shown that over 200,000 people have died annually from this disease, and 300,000 people are newly diagnosed with this glioblastoma every year, proving glioblastoma to be significantly important to society and deadly form of brain cancer. So this led me to my research question of to what extent are alternative glioblastoma therapies efficient in combating brain tumor and mitigate therapeutic resistance? Now this is wordy, so to break it down, I will talk about the effectivity of the different glioblastoma therapies that will be covered in the presentation. So to begin, let's talk about traditional therapies. Traditional therapies consist of chemotherapy, surgery, and radiation, which many must be aware of. So traditional therapies remain as the most commonly used therapy due to its high success rates. So I will talk about the positives and the negatives towards traditional therapies, and then the non-traditional therapies will also be structured in a similar way. So the positives towards the traditional therapies is that it overall reduces the risk of recurrence from occurring. It reduces the chance of the tumor to proliferate again in the body. It is also shown to be a proven therapy to treat glioblastomas with the research that has been conducted thus far. Now, moving on to the negatives, traditional therapies have shown to kill healthy cells, which are crucial for survival. The drugs which are used in chemotherapy and the high energy rays which are used in radiation not only attack the tumor cells like it's supposed to, but also kills the healthy cells, which are essential to fight these tumor cells and overall for survival. It is also ineffective for certain individuals' body types and their symptoms. While traditional therapies may be effective for some group of patients, it may be different for different groups of individuals. Now let's move on to my favorite part, the non-traditional therapies. The non-traditional methods consist of immunotherapy, cancer vaccines, and CAR T cells. Now, it is important to note that there are multiple other non-traditional therapies that exist, but this presentation will consist of the following three. So let's begin with the first one, which is immunotherapy. So what is immunotherapy? Immunotherapy uses the immune system's T cells to alter and enhance the immune activity to recognize and attack the tumor cells. But due to glioblastomas originating in the brain, the blood-brain barrier, which is a highly selective passageway that only allows a certain list of objects from entering and exiting the brain, can reject these engineered cells from entering into the brain due to its complexity. The blood-brain barrier may not recognize the cells and can overall reject it altogether, and this is where the challenges lie to immunotherapy. Now let's talk about the positives and the negatives. The benefits towards the solution is that it has the potential to transform glioblastoma treatment, but with further enhancements and further research being conducted. Another positive is that immunotherapy provides new knowledge of how the immune system is and how it works in general, especially in this cancerous environment. Next, let's move on to the negatives. The first negative is that it converts the good cells and the healthy cells into a cancerous cells, which provides further complications and an abundance of tumor cells, then engineered cells to fight off these tumor cells. Another negative which I found while I was conducting my research is that there are inconsistent patient results. And this is due to immunotherapy being such a new topic and a new clinical research that has been conducted, that there are some inconsistencies that lie among it. Next, let's move on to cancer vaccines, our second non-traditional therapy. So, cancer vaccines use modified cells which are injected into the body that is designed to attack the neoantigen cells. And these neoantigen cells are the cancerous cells. And this is a type of immunotherapy which is focused on attacking the tumor-associated cells. So the positives towards the solution is that it overall boosts immune results to glioblastoma tumors and can show effectivity. Another benefit is that it shows promising results for the future, but with further enhancements and research, it can overall develop to a much developed cure. Now, with the benefits, there are drawbacks to this solution. The first drawback is that this therapy does not suppress tumor cells completely, which can lead to the risk of recurrence and the tumor cells proliferating again. Another drawback to the solution is that it can lead to immune cell rejections. The drugs which are used for the cancer vaccines can be rejected by the immune system, again by the blood bank barrier, or by anything else in the body due to its highly selective processes. And finally, we're moving on to the last non-traditional therapy, which are chimeric antigen receptor T cell therapy. Now, it's a handful, so we will refer to this as a CAR T cell therapy. So these are modified cells which are injected into the bloodstream and modify the immune cells to solely target the tumor cells. So the positives towards the solution is, like I mentioned, specifically target the tumor cells. It's also shown to persist in the body for long periods of time, which can show the endurance of this therapy. And finally, it avoids the chance of recurrence and remission and of the tumor growing back. Now, on to the negatives. CAR T cells can be rejected by the body. Like I mentioned in immunotherapy, the blood bank barrier is a highly selective passageway that only allows a certain list of objects to enter and exit the brain. Since the CAR T cells is complex and is an engineered cells, the blood bank barrier may not recognize these cells and not allow it to enter the brain. And so this can overall disrupt the therapy altogether. Another drawback is that it can turn sides. It can switch from being on the good side of being with the immune cells and attacking the tumor cells to switching towards the evil side and turning into a tumor cell. And when it turns into a tumor cell, this leads to an abundance of tumor cells and can lead to further complications and just a big drawback of CAR T cells altogether. So this brings us to the best solution. With the therapies that have been mentioned in the presentation, the question remains on which of the following therapies present the best cure. Do the old traditional methods demonstrate more promise, or do the new advanced non-traditional therapies provide better effectivity to treating glioblastoma patients? And this is what I talked about in my research paper on which of the traditional or non-traditional therapies provide the best effectivity to treating glioblastoma patients. And with the current research that I have conducted and that have been concluded thus far, the answer is still awaiting further research. Traditional methods are what is commonly used to treat patients based on the research that has been conducted in the past. But there are so many new advancements being made in healthcare system and to medicine itself that non-traditional methods have shown to solely focus on glioblastoma treatment specifically. And to summarize this presentation talked about the impacts of glioblastomas and the significance to society. It talked about the effectivity of both the traditional and the non-traditional therapies and the continuous advancements in healthcare and the new incorporation of AI technology. The search for a cure remains hopeful. And that brings us to the end of this presentation. Thank you very much, and these are my reference slides.
Thank you, Shriya. That was great. And I might have missed this in the beginning. Was there a particular reason that you chose this topic? Like, what was the motivation behind it?
So I did have a family member who was diagnosed with the cancer, and so I wanted to specifically talk about a topic about cancer related topic. And so I was researching more about it, and I noticed that glioblastomas was something completely new and something which I didn't know of, and something that's like not really known to like society, the general society. And so I wanted to take this to shed more light on it and to talk about the awareness of it.
Yeah. No, I really appreciated the topic. I found some things that were interesting, right? Like, do you know, for example, when it talked about like the 5% survival rate, do you know what the most common forms of treatment were of those treatments that you described that contributed to that 5% survival rate? Was it mostly traditional, or was some of it this more CAR T immunotherapy?
So traditional methods are what is always used, but when it comes to a case where a patient can, like traditional methods do not work for a patient, and all the treatments that are like have been used on patients don't work anymore, that's when they switch to the non-traditional therapies such as the CAR T cells and immunotherapy and the cancer vaccines. And so the 5% relates with mainly the traditional therapies, and the non-traditional therapies are just something that is like not quite commonly used based on like it's still in the clinical research projects.
Yeah, no, most of the research that I've been doing is it seems like the cancer researchers are happy about CAR T, right? That's the most common. That's gaining a lot of steam. So it was cool that you included that in there, and it was great that you explored what these alternative theories were. I also found it interesting that the proven way is a 5% survival rate. Like that means 95% unproven, right? So it was great. I enjoyed it.